and something that we're going to do right here, we did on a regular basis with the guys on the team with the Toronto Arrows. And it was some of the best times we had in that studio when the boys were in it. Just a great group of guys. And for Bill Webb, who is the owner, it's, I mean, you better love this, what you do, because it is a lot of work, and certainly it's rewarding because of the love for the sport. But I think it's also the personalities that are part of it. And Lord knows there was no shortage of personalities on that Toronto Arrow team. It was some of my favorite times, to be honest. So thrilled to have our good friend Bill Webb back. How you doing, Bill?
Doing great, Mike. Great to be back.
Well, it's so exciting to see what I think this is actually it's the 6th year of the league, but number 5 for you guys.
That's correct. Yep.
And, you know, again, when these leagues start, I'm probably the last time we met, some of the team names have changed. There's been some different teams, expansion teams. I think Chicago do we have Chicago this year, correct?
Chicago's playing this year. They announced just before the new year, and they're playing this year. And then we just last week had an announcement that the Miami Sharks will be joining for the 2024 season. So the league continues to expand with some really great ownership groups and just spreading the profile of the game right across the continent.
Yeah, and that's what happened. I mean, rugby has such a rich tradition, even here in North America, and there are certainly pockets across the country where it's, you know, really, you know, it's like a religion. If you follow the sport, if you're part of it, you're never a casual fan, are you? I mean, you're all in.
Correct. It's once you're in, you never leave. It's it's a really passionate sport. Great group of people. The community on and off the pitch is absolutely wonderful, and you feel it when you come to a game. Actually, like that's one of the comments that people make when they first come to an Arrows game is just how different it is from going to any other sporting event because of the camaraderie between the fans, the fact that you can move around and meet and have a beer in a concourse and still see the game, the post-match where the fans are allowed to come onto the field and meet with the players. It's just a whole different vibe than any other sport.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so interactive with the fans. And now, because the last time, of course, we got interrupted by COVID and schedule changes, and, you know, it changed where you play and when you played. I mean, it was a huge challenge.
We moved to Atlanta. To Atlanta for the season.
Yeah, slight change. Now, what was that like? What was that like to actually have to do that?
It was really difficult. I mean, for the players, I mean, we went 1,037 days without playing a home game. From the end of the 2019 season, and 2020, we played 6 games on the road, and the season was canceled. Then 2021, because the borders were closed, we had to move the entire show to Atlanta, and that was really hard for guys to be separated from their families, their girlfriends, their whole support system. Really living in a hotel, we really did our best to look after everybody, and they powered through it. It was a testament to the grit. But man, was it ever good to be back last year, back playing in Toronto at York Lions Stadium. And I think it brought us a lot closer together. And it just shows what kind of tenacity and grit this organization and this team has. We didn't lay people off during that. We invested in social media and added to it because people had to watch games. All of them were online. You couldn't watch live. We had to work with our sponsors, and the support that we received from the broad community was just fantastic. So we were back strong last year, and we're going to be even better this year. So looking forward to it.
The home pitch then officially is going to be where?
York Lions Stadium.
It is.
Which is the Pan Am, where they played the Pan Am games. It is a wonderful stadium, great sight lines, seating. The players love the pitch. There's a wonderful area we call the Garden, which is a beer garden and food garden and entertainment, live music, games for kids, etc. in the south end, and then we have a VIP area as well. And last year, as we moved through the season and we got out of those COVID lockdowns just in time before we started our home games, the attendance just ramped right through the season, and the vibe really got humming there. So it's a really great venue, and it's a 30-meter walk from Pioneer Village subway station if people want to have a couple pops on their way or after in the game and get there safely. It's a really easy place to get to.
Well, I think this year is going to be a very good one for a lot of leagues, yours in particular. where people can actually make plans. As you said, it all counts, with subway stops, TTC stops, letting people know that they can have some fun, not worry about it, don't have to worry about parking, just get off the rocket, and it's a great deal. But today we're talking about unveiling an official jersey or kit, I guess is probably what we want to say, and explain exactly what this is, because it's a community partnership, which is very important. And I always think that regardless of your business, we're talking, in this case, professional sports, but that interaction you just talked about is so important in the rugby culture that this makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it?
It does. And yeah, we were really proud yesterday to announce that we've, this year on the front of our jersey will be TIRF, TIRF, which stands for the Toronto Inner City Rugby Foundation. TIRF has been around for over 10 years. I've been involved with it as a volunteer and an advisory board. And what TIRF does is help develop youth development in our community through rugby. And it's a focus on priority neighborhoods in the greater Toronto area. A lot to describe. The impact is phenomenal of this organization. Last year, in what was a partial COVID year, they touched 15,000 young men and women in various communities right across the GTA. This year, they're going to touch 25,000, getting them involved playing rugby in schools, community centers, with other organizations like boys and girls clubs, etc., and through the rugby clubs. And I've seen the impact of what this has done for young people. It's given them a love of, it's introduced them to the game of rugby, but more importantly, the values of rugby: discipline, respect, camaraderie, knowing how to work hard and play hard, and the impact it's had even on kids athletically, giving them some direction, giving them a community, giving them friends. For kids who have maybe come from a single parent home, a place to go after school. And the game changed my life at an early age, and I see it changing lots of other lives. And it is the single biggest force for growth of young fans and players in probably in North America, actually, as an organization. And so for us, it was just a natural to honor them, put them on the front of the jersey. We'll be doing all sorts of events, including a family day event this Sunday at Soccerplex in the afternoon, but all sorts of coaching events and community events throughout the season and throughout the year. It's been something that we've been doing this for a long time, but we decided now was the time to put them front and center on the jersey. And for what it's worth, our other corporate sponsors thought this was a wonderful idea. They said, look, it's a time when we really need to give back to the community, support our community, grow the sport. And so everybody's been on board.
Well, Bill, it's what makes a community. And when you have a business, in this case, having people go through turnstiles and follow the team, you also want to show that you have a heart for the community that you play in. And to me, doing projects like this, also, it's a way to pay it forward. And there's a lot of talk about inclusivity and diversity these days. And I find that there's a good percentage of it that is a lot of hot air. It's putting little things on your social media and putting these little slogans and wearing t-shirts, and that's fine. At least it's some kind of conversation. But to really actually hands-on do something that actually has a result within a community, that's what you've done, and that's what you're doing. And look, the one thing about rugby players that I've known since being in Stouffville as a kid, those that played rugby, whether it's high school or club ball, they have a certain code they live by. There is a code, there is a standard of what rugby players believe life should be. And it's high. It's a high, very honorable way of living your life. And as hard as they hit, they're the first guys. This is really the heart of rugby. As hard as they'll crack on a guy, and if you've seen the sport, it's not for the lighthearted, but they're the first guy then to put their hand out and pick the guy up they just smacked. And then when the game is all over, they're usually yucking it up over a bunch of beers at the end of the game. How can that not be a great quality to give back to the community? And for those that struggle and single parents and everything else, give them something to keep them in it, to keep life going, to give them a goal. That's what you've done here.
Yeah, thanks. You summed it up incredibly well. The vibe is wonderful, especially coming out of the pandemic. This is what people need, is bringing people together. I mean, the most wonderful moment for me last season was being in the stands in those first few games, and just that joy of our community being back together. And what this year is about is bringing new people into the game, new fans, people who've never been to all the young people from turf will be there. They know rugby, they've been introduced, but we want them to bring their families. We want new fans to come and try and check out a new family-friendly sport that's really affordable. It's outdoors. It's very different from any other sporting event, and that's how we're going to grow rugby and grow the Arrows brand and franchise and bring a MLR Shield to Toronto. It's about time. The Argos did it with the Grey Cup. It's time for the ancestors to do it in rugby, right?
That's right.
Bring an MLR Shield here.
That's right. That's exactly right. Now, a place that you're familiar with, I believe that's where you start the season. You're back in Atlanta again, and I think you're very used to the surroundings.
We know it well. Thankfully, we're staying in a different hotel this time, and not for 5 months. We don't want PTSD hitting the boys. But no, we are looking forward to going down to Atlanta. People really embraced us when we were there. They're a good team. We're competing for the Fire and Ice Cup, which is a tradition between these two teams, and it's our chance to win that cup and bring it home and get the season off to a really strong start. We've got a very strong squad this year, still 70% plus Canadian. We've mixed it up a little bit, but the Canadian emphasis is very much there, and we're a bigger team, a few more gray hairs on the team, which we think will really help this year, and we're going for it. We want to go all the way.
Now, I mean, the last time we had guys in studio, some of those guys now have been retired. Some of them are no longer playing. I would think some of them probably have become coaches. It's very difficult to just walk away from the sport and not do. So what would be the major changes, say, between now and when we talked last? What for you and for those that are listening here this morning, we'll see the video later on today. What would those changes be? The biggest ones?
Well, we've had a few guys, retire and move on with their lives. Some of the familiar faces that you'll see are folks like, and in the leadership group are Lucas Rumble, Mike Shepard, Sammy Malcolm's back. So the leadership group is there. You'll see we've scoured the world and found a number of Canadian eligible players who happen to live in Australia, New Zealand, and other places. So you'll see the likes of Corey Thomas, who plays for the Canadian national team, wonderful veteran player, real leader on and off the pitch, and plays for Rugby Canada as well. So Corey will be with us. Will Grant, another Canadian that we located. Shane O'Leary, who's played for Rugby Canada, Irish by descent, but Canadian citizen, has played for Canada, and he'll be playing at fly half as well. Nick Ben, Kieran Breen comes to us from the Canada Sevens program. Cole Davis, another player who's played in the Canada Sevens. So real mix of youth, energy, and then we are a bigger team. We brought in a fellow, Mitch Eady, who's played with the Bristol Bears, over 100 caps for Bristol, real experienced veteran playing at number 8. And then a couple of big units who play in the backs from down under. A fellow we call Tassi. I can't even pronounce his first name. It's so
yeah, I wasn't going to take a show. I saw that this morning. Like, okay, I'm not. I won't
get tongue-tied on that.
No, forget it.
And Fabian Goodall, who's coming in as well. These are really big guys who can move and also very experienced players. So it's a different look. I can tell you the guys have bonded really well. We had an off-site team building session at the Elora Gorge. We did an amazing race on that day when it was minus 25 Celsius. The boys braved it. You can see some of the film on Instagram and whatnot. And we finished that day at the Canadian Warplane Heritage in Hamilton at Mount Hope Airport, and saw the vintage planes and had a lecture from one of the old veterans there about the history of the Avro Arrow, because that's really where our name derives from. The arrows from the Avro Arrow. And guys, it was a great way to end the weekend with a bit of intellectual nourishment after all that physicality scooting around the gorge. It was great. So guys are in a really good frame of mind. We're quite healthy relative to last year. We had a big spate of injuries last year. It was difficult, but we've got a very healthy squad, and boys are ready to rock and roll on Friday.
Well, you're a great group of guys, and as I said, it was such a joy when we were able to do everything together. And then, of course, COVID and changing places and musical chairs. It's just what's happened. But it's nice to see survival counts. I mean, there's a lot that would not do that. There's a lot of businesses that could not find a way, but yet you did. You did it with style, and coming back and also giving back to the community. It's just wonderful to see. So best of luck this year. Now hopefully we'll get a chance to talk from time to time, because we desperately miss it. And I think that people also will enjoy, as I said, going to the game. So for those watching and listening, if they want season tickets, like, how do they go? Because I would suggest season tickets are probably so affordable compared to almost anything else you can think of. How do they do it?
Cheaper than one night at the Raptors, the Leafs for a season ticket. eight home games. Go to TorontoArrows.com. Everything regarding tickets, season, flex packs, single tickets, as well as we got some really good merch on sale. Get these nice new caps, new shirts,
nice.
all sorts of cool stuff. Full rundown of our roster, like everything's there. TorontoArrows.com, and our my phone number's on there. So if anyone has any suggestions, if there's sponsors who want to jump on board, we've added some new sponsors this year, like Pizza Hut, Metro Supply Chain, which is a massive logistics company. We have other companies back like Foundation Physio, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Marco Group coming back. So the support's been wonderful, but we're always looking for new partners in any respect.
Well, it is worth the time and worth the investment, if you ask me. So I'm sure you'll see me down at the pitch from time to time, because it's been a while, and boy, I'd like to do that. So look, best of luck. We'll stay in touch, and arrows up.
Yep, you got a first home game in early April, and we'll be on the road till then, and we will be announcing our broadcast partner very shortly. There won't be any surprises there, and so folks will be able to watch the game starting this Friday, both streaming and on TV. So, but thanks a lot for your support and having me on. Appreciate it, Mike.
Great stuff. That is Bill Webb. He is the owner of the Arrows, just talking about their new kit announced yesterday, and of course their new partnership and turf. And just so you know, Bill didn't make a spelling error. I know you might see it and go, "Oh, isn't that sad? He spelled it wrong." No, that's not what it stands for. It stands for all the right things, as they have done since we've known them. They do it the right way.